So welcome back to the training, guys. I hope you all are doing well. So yesterday we discussed about the different types of routing protocols, and after that we we discussed about static routing. With a practical. For today we have telnet. So before we proceed, I'm opening up the yesterday's topology. So who all are left in completing that can take some time, and let me know if you face some difficulty. I'm here to help. Let me know if you want me to open the configurations as well. So we have a question that why some packets like drop when we try to ping from one PC to another. So you might have observed that some of the packets drop when you try to ping from one PC to another. So that's because of hold time, and LAN holds the packet so that they can run the ARP protocol. So ARP is something from which MAC addresses are learned, MAC and IP addresses are learned of devices. So to make that process happen, sometimes packets are dropped. Jaspal, can you check? Yes, sure. I can open the configuration as well. Just a minute more, guys. I'm opening the configuration so that you can refer to that. And if you want, we can discuss the same practical again with the class B IP address. If you guys are facing some difficulty, we can quickly do one more practical of this. After that, we can move further. So, since most of the people are saying yes, let's take one more example of the same practical of static routing. And after that, we can look into telnet and the things which are there for today. So I'm deleting all of these configuration and we will begin from scratch. So we'll be doing this a little fast so that we can save time for the rest of the topics. And so I want you guys to be focused here so that you guys can understand this now. Let me connect my keyboard. Just a minute more and we are good to go. So let's quickly take three routers and try configuring different networks on them. Then after that, we will look into how static routing works. So we are taking 2811 here as, let's take four routers now. So here we have the third router, then the last one, R4. Consider them as different locations, and here we have switch for them, 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can rename them as switch 1, switch 2, so now let's connect some end devices. We have two PCs here, for this, two for this, two for this. So we will quickly add some modules to make the connections possible, and that's all. Let's connect them together. So here we have that policy ready with us. Now let's configure a class B network on these devices and understand how static routing works. Okay, so is it clear now? So let's take our IP from class B. Let's take 10.10.0 for this network. Then, so I want you guys to understand this. Class B IP address changes with octet number 2. So we are taking 150.10 for the first network, then 150.20.10.0 for the second network. So this is how it's going to work. So this is going to be the 20 and this will be the 30.10.0. We have another network which is 150.40.10.0. Now, as we move ahead, we have to make sure that these routers are in the same network. And for that, we are taking network of 50.10 here. And is it clear till now? Great. So now let's quickly get to the CLI of R1 and configure the ports. So first of all, we have to say no, then into the interface FA 0/1, we assign it the IP address. Okay, so we made a little mistake. So the topology is something like this. Now all of the ports are visible. So, okay. So the IP address which we have assigned to FA01 was supposed to be for FA00. So now we can simply override the IP address to make the correction. So we will go again to FA01. Then after that, you have to type the IP address. So for FA01, the IP shall be 150.50.10.1. So we are just simply overwriting the IP address so that the correct IP can be configured to the correct port, then no shutdown. Then after that, we can go to interface FA0/0 and assign it the IP address 150.50.10.1. Okay, cool. So now we have configured both of the ports of R1. Let's quickly move to R2 now. And we will go to the CLI. Press no. We are renaming this to R2. Guys, am I not clear to you guys? There is some network connectivity issue with me, and maybe that's causing some latency. Are you guys able to hear me clearly? Great, great, fine. So let's move ahead and quickly complete the topology. No, no worries. I am connected to a network, but the issue is I was facing some latency here at my end. Okay, so Guys, I can suggest you to try rejoining the session because most of us are fine with the network. It can be an issue from your end also. Guys, as most of us are able to see the video as well and listen to the voice clearly, uh, so I think we shall move ahead. So we have renamed the router to R2. Now let's quickly configure the IP addresses to the port. And we have, at first we have interface FA01. Let's assign the IP address. IP address for FA01 is going to be 150.50.10.2. Then the default subnet mask, then no shutdown. Here we go. Then after that we have FA0/0. We will assign the IP address. After that we will configure the last port, which is Ethernet 1/0. Assign the IP address. And we are done with router number 2 also. Now let's go to router number 3. As I am going a little fast, so this is just basic assigning of IP addresses. So I'm just not repeating myself. So we are just basically assigning the IP address to the ports, which we have already discussed in the previous classes. So here we are done with router number 3 as well. Now let's quickly assign IPs to router number 4. Is it still not clear, Ajay? I have zoomed a little bit more. Okay. Let me see what can be done. So when I just increase the font size of the application, the ports number get mixed up, and that's the issue. Otherwise, I don't have any problem in zooming in. So I hope it's clear now. So we were configuring router number 4. Let's quickly rename this to R4. And Ajay, I cannot make this more bigger than this. That will create a mess here and you won't be able to understand this after that. If I make it more larger, it will get mixed up. So if you can try joining with maybe a PC or laptop, that would help. I guess you are on mobile. So let's quickly configure the router number 4. And what is Ajay, try managing with this. I hope you'll be able to understand this. If you want, I can just let me see what can be done. Is it clear now? Great. Let's move ahead and complete the practical as we have other things to discuss. So we were configuring R4. Sure. Thank you so much, Ajay. I cannot make bigger than this. So I hope you understand. So we have to configure FA00. After this, we will assign the IP address. which is 150.40.10.1, then the default subnet mask, and we are done. Now let's quickly move to router number one and configure DHCP for the network. Perfect. So let's configure the DHCP pool for router number two. We have default route. Here we go. So as of now, we have configured all the IP addresses. We have assigned the IP addresses to all the ports, and after that, we have configured DHCP pools on each of the router. Then now the main thing comes, and now it's time for adding the static routes to the routers to make the communication between devices from different network possible. So to all those, this is for those who face some difficulty in configuring a network with class C address. So I hope you guys are paying attention to the class, and here we can simply take a note of routes which are not there on R1. So first of all, the directly connected route which are there on route number 1 are 150.10.0.0. Then after that we have 150.50.0.0. So this one and this one. So let's quickly make a list of all those routes which are not there on R1. So we don't have 150.20.0.0. Then to that have the 50. We don't have 60, then we don't have 70. So when it comes to router number two, we don't have. We have 20, we don't have 30, have 40, have 50, then we have 60, we don't have the 71. This is the routes which are not there on router number two. Now, when we talk about router number 3, the routes which are not there are 10, 20, and 40. And that's all. So when it comes to router number 4, it doesn't have 10.0.0. Then have 20. Then again P. We have 40, and we don't have 50, and we don't have 60. So is it clear till now? These are the networks which are not there on these particular routers. Now we will quickly move ahead and will configure these networks on these routers so that they can communicate with devices of these networks. So now to add a IP route, the simple command which we have is IP route. Then you have to type the network ID, which is 150.20.0.0, then the subnet mask. And after that, you have to type the name, or you can say the interface name, which the router will use to take an exit. So that's FA0/1. So that's all. And similarly, you can repeat the same command by pressing the up arrow. And then after that, make this 30, then make this 40 and 60 and 70. Now, if you take an exit from the configuration mode and run the command show IP route, you can see there are all the routes now available in the routing table. We have 10, we have 20, we have 30, we have 40, we have 50, then we have 60 and 70 as well. So now there's one more thing which you can take a note about. So the one with C is directly connected routes. So if you look, the 10 and 50 are the directly connected routes. After that, the one with S are the static routes. So S represents static, and you can look for this information here. So if you look here, L represents local, and then we have C for connected, then we have S for static routes. So this is how you can like identify what type of route is there on the routing table. Similarly, we will move to router number 2 and we'll quickly add up the routes in its routing table. We have the command IP route 150.10.0.0, then the default subnet mask. And after that, the exit interface would be FA0/1. And then we don't have 150.30.0.0. So we will make this 30. But with that, you have to also change the exit interface from FA01 to Ethernet 1/0. 30 network is on the right side of the router, and the exit interface would be Ethernet 1/0. Now we will quickly add up the remaining routes. And for 40 also, Ethernet 1/0 would work. Then we have 70. And here we go. So we are done with the configuration of router number 2. If we look into the routing table, we have all the routes. So there is 10, there is 20, there is 30, we have 40, 50, and 60. And enter, you will find 70 also. So in case if you find some difficulty in pinging packets, or let's say you face some difficulty from connecting one network to another, you can simply look into its routing table that if the route was correctly configured or not. So you can look into this routing table to make sure that route is there in the router. So let's now move to router number 3. We have the command IP route 150.10.0.0. So the port number is not visible here, but that's FA01. So I'm writing the same. And for 20 also FA01 would work. Then we have 40. 440. Ethernet 1/0 will be the one which router will use to take an exit. Okay. For 50, the same command will work. So we are done with the configuration of router 3 also. Now let's quickly end the practical by configuring router number 4. And here we take the exit from DHCP configuration mode. Then we have the command IP route. Here we only have one exit interface, which is FA/01. So all of the networks can be configured with the same. So 20. Look into the routing table, we have, okay, we mistakenly added one route, which is 150.0.0.0. We can remove it by going back to the configuration mode and typing no IP route 150.0.0.0 select mask. Now let's take an exit and go to the routing table. So we have 20, 10, 30, 40, 50 and 60, 70. So we have all the routes in the routing table now, and we shall be able to ping from one device to another. So let's quickly go to PC0. Let's go to the command prompt and try pinging this device, PC number 6. So the IP for PC6 is 150.40.0.1. When we try to ping, let's see if that works or not. As I said yesterday, it might take some time. To avoid waiting, you can press this fast forward button and the process can be like moved ahead by 30 seconds. So now we'll try to ping again and let's see if that works or not. Okay, so let me check quickly. So the PC6, we are getting reply from that. No, IP is correct. So that's the thing. A B class IP, the network for B class IP is, I mean the class B IP is 150.40.0.0 and 10.1 and 150.40.0.1 are in same network, right? Is it clear now? So both of the IPs are in same network. So that's, I mean, that's not wrong. Since we are using a class B IP. So we can see the ping is working. Now let's quickly try pinging a device from 30.10.0 network, and here we type ping 150.30.0.1, which is IP address of PC number 4, this PC. And when we press enter, let's see if that works or not. Okay, at last we got the reply, and when we ping again, it works. So there is some confusion when I mean I have configured the IPs to PC correctly, and it's all good now. So let me explain this to you. So when it comes to a class B IP, okay. So a class B IP, we have two network part, then we have two host part. Is it clear? And if we say 150.40.10.1 and 150.40.0.1, so both of these IPs are in uh, same network, yes, and the network is 150.40.0.0. So if you check, 40.0.1 is also in the same network and 40.10.1 is also in same network. So both of these IP shall be in the same network only, and anything between these ranges shall work. So at the time of configuring DHCP, we just configured 150.40.0.0, and because of which PC got the IP 0.1. Yes, subnet mask is 255.255.0.0, and as Dilkush said, this is a class B IP, so the default subnet mask is that only. So to remove IP, you just have to type no IP address and then the IP address. So that will remove that from the port number. I mean, if you are in interface FA01, then the way you write IP address, the way you configure the IP address, you just have to add a no before that, and that will delete the IP address from the interface. So that was all for static routing, and I hope you guys are now clear with this. And if you still face some difficulty, that's something related to practice, and I hope the concept is clear now. Yes, yes, Pradeep. Great. So this is clear to you guys now, and now let's move ahead and learn something about Telnet. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Till then, if you guys want, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can like either if you want to write some of the commands, you can do that also. So I'll be back in 5 minutes, guys. I hope everyone is done with the practical and we are good to move forward. So now we will understand about trace route. Oh, sorry. Now we will understand about telnet, and trace route is something which you can use to check whether the issue I mean wherever your packet is being delivered to. So if you go to the router and if you type, so when you go to the command prompt of PC and type the IP address after the trace route, so you will see all the destination which the packet is like moving from, and wherever the packet is being dropped, the issue is there. So that's something you can use to check your network. Now let's move to telnet and understand what it is and how to configure telnet. So we are going to talk about telnet. Telnet is something which we use to configure devices remotely. So basically, it is used to configure devices, or we can say used to access the network devices remotely. And it's basically used in private WANs, which is private wide area network. So why is it used in that network? Because data over telnet transmitted in clear text. So whatever data you are sending over the telnet connection, it will be sent in clear text. Hence, it is, we can call it unsecure. This as a unsecure method to access devices over remote. Then yes, the data is not encrypted. Hence, it is an unsecure method. And after that, it works on TCP, and the port number for this is 23. So this is all about telnet, and basically most of the organizations use SSH, which is secure shell, and so this is a secure method, and the data over SSH is encrypted, hence we can call it as secure. So now let's understand how telnet works. So let's say you have a device, you have a router there, and let's say this connection is there in Dubai. Organization. So in order to connect to router, you have to use some console cables, and that console cable is then after that connected to the PC to make configurations. So we'll understand how that works. If we take a PC here, here, here. So let's assume these PCs are in the network, and these are assigned to some network engineers. Quickly. Okay, so port number 23. So every protocol has some port number, and so for TCP it is 6 and UDP it is 17. So these are like used to identify the protocol which is being used. Make sense? So we can say that these port numbers are used to identify the protocol type which is being used. Basically, it is for identification of protocol. And now let's understand how a telnet can be configured on some devices. So let's say this is the router and there's another network here. I hope the port numbers are clear to you guys. We will add some PCs here as well. Now we will configure a network of 192.168.1.0 here and 192.168.11.0 here. So these are going to be the networks. Let's quickly move to the router, go to CLI, say no, enable conf t interface FA00 IP address 192.168.1.1 and default subnet mask, and no shutdown. Here we are done. Then let's quickly go to FA01, assign the IP address. This is just the basic configuration, which is assigning of IP addresses, and we are done with the assignment of IP addresses. After this, we will configure quickly DHCP to make IP assigned to the end devices, which are PCs. So IP DHCP pool A, the network will be 192.168.1.0, then the default subnet mask, and default router will be 1.1. After this, we have to create another DHCP pool for the network 11, given as B, and the network is 192.168.11.0. Now the thing comes where we are like configuring telnet. So how to configure telnet? We have few commands. The first command is line bty 0, then after that space, and now you have to, like, if you want to assign the possible number of connections, let's say now in the topology we have 6 PCs, but we only want 5 connections, like only 5 devices can make the telnet connection. We want this, so we will be using 0 and 4. So 0 to 4, it means there are 5 lines which can be used to make this telnet connection. So we'll type line VTY. VTY stands for virtual terminal lines. So once you press, now you are in config line mode. Now you have to assign some password for the telnet connection. We'll type password. Then after that, let's assign a password as Cisco. Okay, then enter. Now you have to tell this that this password is for login. After that, take an exit. Now there's one more thing. There's something known as enable password. So the time we enable the router, we have to put some password. And in order to make telnet connections, you have to configure the password for enable mode as well. So we will type enable password. Then after that, you have to simply type the password you want to assign. So let's assign PyNet. So that's all. And if we take an exit here and go to a PC, we will go to desktop command prompt. Here we will type telnet. After that, the IP of router. So, so it's trying to connect with the router. Okay, let's try again. Okay, let me check. Let me check .1 if that works, so that we can like understand this. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah. So we haven't assigned IP addresses to PCs as of now. Okay, someone help me in that. Thank you so much. So we are missing on something, which is assignment of IP addresses to PC. So now we have IP address on this PC and we will check if that works now. So in case if you face some issue while pinging any device, make sure that IP is assigned, like you have selected DHCP after configuring DHCP on the router. So that's a very basic thing. And sometimes you miss on that and think that there is something technical and keep on troubleshooting. This happens with me as well. So make a check on IP addresses whenever you face some difficulty. So we will type telnet, then after that the IP address of the router. Okay, so it asks for a password. So this is the one which we have set as Cisco. Oh, okay, so there is something we can change. Okay. Okay, I will repeat the 04 thing. Don't worry, we can give permission. Okay, okay. So yes, Dilkush, that's not required here. So here we will type the password, and when you type the password, press enter. So you see we are in the user mode now. We are into the router CLI, and when you type enable, it asks another password which was set as the enable password, which we have set as PyNet. So I will type PyNet here, and once I press enter, I am now in enable mode and I can configure the router using this PC now. Do you guys understand? Okay, so similarly, if you go to another PC, go to command prompt, type telnet, then the IP address of router, press enter. So similarly, you can like configure the router using these commands. So the password we have set for enabling the router is PyNet. And once I type PyNet, press enter, the router is there. Now I can configure it. So I'm giving you 10 minutes. Okay, so let me create another document for you, and so that you guys can refer to that. So first thing is, one is Step one is assign IP address. I hope you don't need configuration for that. Step two, configure DHCP. Step three, telnet. So I'm writing the commands required for telnet. Very first command will be line vty 0 to number of lines, whatever lines you want. According to that, you can type the number. Let's take 4, and 0 to 4 means 5 lines. After that, you have to assign a password. You will type password. So this password is for the telnet connection. Password space, type the password you want to assign. Let's take Cisco, press enter, then write login. So this is the login password. After that, you have to take exit from the telnet config mode and assign an enable password. So telnet works with enable password. You have to assign enable password also. So we will type enable password. After that, press space and write the password you want to assign. So let's take PyNet here and enter, and that's all. This is the very basic thing. Then after this, you can step 4 is go to of PC and type telnet, then IP address of the router, which is 192.168.1.1. Press enter. After that, you will be asked the password which you have set as the login password. And once you type that, you will see the router in your command prompt. You are most welcome. I'm giving you 10 minutes. Try this and let me know once you are done. We will understand VLSM after this. So in order to reach the config mode, you have to first go through the enable process. And once you are there, you can like type config T, that's not a big thing, and you will be in the configuration mode directly. Guys, telnet is used to make remote connections. So let's say there is a router on your branch and you are sitting on a device which is not near your router. So somehow you are like connected to that router. In that case, you can use telnet to directly configure from your PC, and like you don't have to go to router to configure that. So that's basically the remote access. We call it as remote access. Okay, so I hope everyone is done with the practical, and let's learn about VLSM now. Okay, so I'm just deleting this all. Okay. Now we are going to learn about VLSM, and VLSM. This VLSM stands for variable length subnet mask. Now the thing is that VLSM is basically used in a network where the number of hosts are not fixed, or we can say which like the number of hosts depends on the type of department. So let's say, okay, let's take an example of an organization, and in this organization there are 4 different departments. Let's say the first department we have is marketing department. Then after that we have admin department. Let's have the HR department, and the last one we have is sales department. So the number of users required in the the marketing department are 120 users. Then in the admin department, we need 60 users. I mean the 60 hosts. Then we have the HR department with a count of 25 users. And the last one is sales with 10 users. But the thing is that you are provided with only one network ID. Let's take that as 192.168.1.0/24. So you are provided with this network and you have to configure all of these using this. So we are all aware about subnetting, and now we are going to learn about VLSM. So here we'll be taking 4 different routers for each department. Let's say you have this router, router number 1. Then you have another router here, router number 2. Then after that, okay, is there still any issue with Telnet? Okay, so I hope Telnet is clear now, and I would request you now to focus on VLSM. And thank you so much, Dilkhush, for helping them out. And I really like when you guys help each other with the doubts. That will help not only the person who is in doubt, but you as well. So it helps you to revise the topic. So now let's understand VLSM. So we have another router here, router number 3. Then we have another one here, router number 4. So these are the 4 routers and they are connected with a switch. So let's say this is the switch for router number 1. Then we have another switch for router number 2. Then another one for router number 3 and one for router number 4. Now let's say the router 1 is the one for admin department. This is the admin department, and the need we had in admin department was for 120 users. So let's assume on the end of these connections there are end devices, which are PCs. Then we have R2, the HR department, where we needed 60 users. Then we have R3, marketing department, and we required 25 users here. Then at last we have R4 as sales department, and we have a need of 10 users here. So what we are going to do here is we'll just divide the range of 192.168.1.0 in all of these departments, and for 120 users, for 60 users, we'll be using the same network for all of these 4 departments. So let's understand how that works. So we'll get a little back to subnetting, and so the very first requirement is for admin, which is of 120 users. And in order to divide the IP range to 120 users, we know that the nearest number to 120 is 128, right? And for that, the N represents number of network, H represents number of hosts, then we have S for subnet mask, then R for range. So the number of hosts are 128, and we can say 2 raised to the power 7, and that's 128. So from this we are we get the number of off bits, right? And so if the off bits are 7, how many on bits will be there? Just 1, right? So 2 raised to the power 1, 2. So there are going to be 2 networks with 128 hosts each. Then subnet mask for this will be 255.255.255.192. So I'm writing the master formula here for your reference, and I'm sorry, this will be 128. So the master formula we have is 128, 64, then we have 32, then 16, 8, 4, 2, and 0. So is it clear till now how we get the subnet mask as 255, 255, 255.128? So that's the basic subnetting which we have already done. And the range will go from 192.168.1.0 to 192.168.1.127. Then we'll have another network 192.168.1.128 till 192.168.1.255. So this is the network 1 we have, and this is the network 2. So each network has the capacity of 128 hosts. So what we are going to do here is we'll just use the network 1 and we will not be using network 2. So we will only use network 1, which is the which satisfies the requirement of 120 users, and we will not be using the network 2 in this case. Now, when we talk about VLSM, there is a golden rule. So the golden rule says you have to move from bigger network to smaller network. So the reason we took 120 users on our first priority is that that's how you can perform VLSM. So you cannot take, let's say, you cannot take the HR department first, which was there for 60 users, and after that you move to 120 users. So you have to go from the biggest one, then after that you can move to the smaller ones. Yes. So now we will move ahead and we'll try to provide IP address to the 60 users. Okay. Master formula written on it. Oh, so there is 1 instead of 0. It is 1. So that's okay. Sorry, guys. So let's move ahead and assign the IP range to HR department, which required 60 users. For 60 users, quickly tell me how many host bits will be used. 64. Yes, but the question was that how many host bits will be there. So the nearest number to 60 is 64, and we'll be using 6 bits, right? Not okay. Now let's understand this. So we have 2 raised to the power 6, and the number of hosts we have is 64. So if we have 6 bits for host, then there will be 2 bits for network, and there are going to be 4 networks, and subnet mask will go from 255.255.255. The first bit is going to be on and the second one is going to be on, so it will be 192, right? Yes. So when we take 128, we can call it as /25, right? So there are 24 bits as default, and we have borrowed 1, so it's going to be 25. And when it comes to this one, we can call it /26.